I never imagined that at 71. My days would be filled with so much worry and suspicion. At this age, you'd think the mind should finally be at peace spent gardening, reading, maybe spoiling grandchildren. But when it comes to your only child, age has no power over a mother's instinct. The heart stays on high alert. My daughter, Brooke, has always been clever, sharp-witted, determined, maybe a little too much like me. We clashed often when she was growing up. Looking back now, I see. I was too hard on her. Too controlling. Perhaps that's why she keeps things from me now. Maybe that's why, lately, I felt this quiet storm brewing behind her eyes. This morning, like so many before it, I overslept. My old alarm clock rang, but it might as well have been a whisper in the wind. Even after 30 years of being an English teacher, I never managed to wake up with the first bell. Not even now in retirement when there's nowhere to rush. Some habits never change. Since Roy passed, the house has felt emptier than ever. We shared this home on Maple Street in Lebanon for 35 years. His presence lingers, his picture on the mantel, his favorite chair by the window, the old, dusty toolbox, still sitting in the garage. I talk to him sometimes, tell him about Brooke and Nolan. I wonder what he'd say if he were here. Vivian, don't meddle. He'd probably tell me. Brooke's an adult, let her be. He was the calm one. Always. But how do you stop worrying when you feel something's not right? As I was heading into the kitchen to make my late morning tea, the phone rang. It was Elaine, my old roommate and lifelong friend from school. Vivian, book clubs today. Did you forget again? She chirped cheerfully. Of course not. I lied. 2 o'clock at Martha's, right? 3 o'clock, Vivian. And it's at Charlotte's, not Martha's. She laughed, but her words stung. I've been distracted lately, my mind caught in this endless loop of unease about Brooke. I tried to sound casual. Hey, have you heard from Brooke lately? Is she okay? How would I know? She's your daughter, Elaine replied, half joking. It's just ... She's been off. Distant. She doesn't call much anymore, and when she does, she sounds ... tense. Vivian. Elaine sighed. She's 34. She has a life. It's not all about you. I know Elaine means well, but the words hurt more than. I let on. It's not about me. It's about that mother's instinct. Something is wrong. And Nolan, her husband, he doesn't help. Always so perfect. Clean-cut engineer. Steady job. Bought her a beautiful house. But when I look at him, I see the cracks. The smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. The charm that feels scripted. That afternoon, I couldn't take the uncertainty anymore. I decided to visit Brooke unannounced. She lived just 15 minutes away in a neat 2-story house with a flawless lawn, too flawless, like a set piece. In a commercial for suburban bliss. When she opened the door, she blinked in surprise. Mom? Is something wrong? Do I need a reason to visit my own daughter? I asked, smiling tightly. She hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in. But I only have about an hour. I have work soon. Brooke poured me some tea in the kitchen. She looked pale, with shadows under her eyes that no amount of makeup could fully hide. How are you, sweetheart? I asked gently. Fine, just busy. This new project is draining me. And Nolan? He's fine too, she replied too. Fast, eyes flickering down. Something in her voice didn't sit right with me. It sounded rehearsed, hollow. I sipped my tea slowly. You two aren't thinking about children? She choked on her drink. Mum, we've talked about this. When we're ready, we'll decide. You'll know. Of course, I nodded. It's just ... 5 years is a long time. Let's not go there, okay? Her tone shut. The door on that topic. The conversation shifted to the weather, to book club, to wallpaper patterns. Small talk, but her posture was guarded, her words too careful. Then we heard the front door. Brooke flinched. It's Nolan. He wasn't supposed to be home. He entered, dressed in a suit, no tie. Cologne too strong for a regular workday. Vivian. What a surprise. He greeted me warmly, even kissed my cheek. But I saw the flicker of something behind his smile. Brooke looked stunned to see him. I thought you were at work. Meeting ended early, he said with ease, then kissed her on the lips. It felt performative, staged. I was just leaving, I said quickly, grabbing my bag. Oh, but you just got here, Brooke protested, though she didn't stop me. Don't want to be late for book club, I lied. From the car, I glanced back at their window. They were arguing. Nolan was gripping her shoulders, Brooke shaking her head. I knew what I saw. That night, at book club, I couldn't follow a single word. My thoughts circled like vultures. What were they hiding? The next morning I called Brooke. She didn't answer. Later she texted. Can't talk right now. Will call you back. She didn single quotes T.2 days passed. I called again. She answered, voice low and tired. I'm just exhausted, Mom. Then she hung up before I could say more. On Saturday I tried again. This time I called ahead. Nolan answered. Vivian, good morning. Brooke's out. A last-minute meeting. On a Saturday? Urgent client, he said smoothly. I didn't believe him. I knew he was lying. Later that night I called Brooke again. Laughter and music echoed in the background. Where are you? At Tessa's. After the meeting. Haven't seen her in a while. Tess, her wild, impulsive college friend. My stomach twisted. All right, I said. Enjoy your evening. That night I barely slept. I dreamt of Roy standing by the window, eyes sad. Vivian, he whispered. Let it go. But I couldn't. Something was wrong, and I had to find out what. By Sunday morning, I had reached a breaking point. I called my younger sister Doris in Portland. Tell me, Doris, if a grown daughter is hiding something, does her mother have the right to dig deeper? Vivian, please don't tell me you're spying on Brooke again. I'm not. I'm just worried. Maybe it's just personal stuff. Maybe it's nothing. Not everyone owes you answers. Her words stung. Doris had always sided with Brooke, but she didn't see what I saw. And I saw it. Something was very, very wrong in my daughter's life. There's something wrong with him. Too many secret phone calls, unexpected meetings. Vivian. Doris's voice turned serious. You need to find something to do. Take a course, get a dog, start traveling. Anything to stop controlling your daughter's life. I'm not in control. I objected again. And just you are, Doris said firmly. I always have. Remember how you were against Brooke going to art college? How you criticized her career choices, her friends. And now you don't like her husband either. I didn't dislike Nolan, I said, even though it knew in my heart that Doris was right. There's just something wrong with him. He's too perfect. Doris laughed. Only you can find a flaw in someone being perfect. Vivian, leave them alone. Let them live their lives. After talking to my sister, I felt even more confused. Maybe Doris is right. Maybe I'm the one who's meddling too much in their lives. But what if Brooke really is in trouble? What if Nolan is hiding something? I decided to talk to one more person, Martha, a mutual friend of ours, and Elaine's from book club. Martha had worked as a school counselor until her retirement and was known for her common sense. It had been a week since my last visit with Brooke and Nolan. I tried to follow Doris and Martha's advice. Stay out of it. Give them space. Get on with their lives. I signed up for a watercolor painting class at the local senior center, even though I'd never been able to paint. Roy had always said it was never too late for new hobbies. Maybe he was right, but the anxiety wouldn't let go. Every time I called Brooke, she either didn't pick up the phone or spoke to me in a crumpled, hurried manner. Sorry, Mom, I'm in a meeting. Sorry, I can't talk right now. I'll call you back later, and never called back. Yesterday, I called her again and again. The conversation was short and kind of strained. Brooke, honey, why don't you come over to my house for dinner? I asked. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm sorry, Mom. I can't, Brooke replied. Nolan and I have plans tonight. What kind of plans? I asked a pause. Just plans, Mum. We need to talk about something. Is something wrong? I felt my insides tighten with worry. No, nothing, Brooke answered quickly. Just work stuff. Look, I got to run. I'll talk to you later, okay? Anch hung up without waiting for my response. I sat there with the phone in my hand, feeling my anxiety rising. Something was definitely wrong. Brooke had never been so secretive, so aloof. We'd always been close, despite my tendency to be controlling, which I was often accused of. This evening, I decided to call Nolan. Maybe he could tell me more. Nolan, good evening, I said when he finally picked up after the 5th ring. I'm sorry to bother you, but I wanted to ask about Brooke. She's been kind of weird lately. Weird? He sounded a little wary. In what way? Distant, secretive. You two are. What's going on, Nolan? Nothing's going on, Vivian. He answered too quickly. It's just that we both have a lot of work to do. You know how stressful things are right now. I know. I agreed. But it's not just work. Brooke looks tired. She's not sick. No. Nolan answered again too quickly. She's just not getting enough sleep. She's working a lot, worried about the new project. What kind of project? A big order from Hezard. From a construction company. They're building a new complex and Brooke's doing the interior design. I see, I said, though I didn't believe a word of it. Nolan, you know, you can tell me anything if you have a problem. We don't favor problem, Vivian. His voice became harder. Everything's fine. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have another call on other line. It's a work matter. I have to take it. And he hung up without saying goodbye. I stared at the phone, not believing what I was hearing. Nolan was always polite to the point of being cloying, never interrupted a conversation so abruptly. Something was definitely wrong. The next day, I decided to stop by unannounced just to make sure Brooke was okay. I arrived around 11 in the morning, hoping that Nolan had already left for work, so I could talk to my daughter alone. To my surprise, both Brooke's and Nolan's cars were parked in the driveway. Strange. In the middle of the workday. Both home. It rang the doorbell. No one answered for a long time. Then footsteps sounded and Nolan opened the door. He was in his house clothes, a t-shirt, and jeans like he wasn't even going to work. Vivian hadn't hide his surprise. What are you doing? Here. I came to see Brooke, I answered, trying to sound casual. Can I come in? Nolan hesitated, then reluctantly stepped back, letting me into the house. Brooke's resting, he said. She didn't sleep well last night, and I decided to stay home to take care of her. Is she sick? I asked, feeling my heart clenched with worry. No, just tired, Nolan answered, leading me into the living room. Would you like some tea? No, thanks. Can I see Brooke? She's asleep, Vivian. It's best not to wake her. I took a good look at my son-in-law. He looked tired too. Their circles under his eyes, the tense lip line, the mussed hair. Nolan, what's going on? I asked him bluntly. And don't tell. Me, it's nothing. I can see that you're both exhausted. What are you hiding? Nolan sighed and ran his hand through his hair. A gesture I'd only seen him do when he was nervous. Vivian, I appreciate your concern, but this is between me and Brooke. When the time comes, we'll tell you everything. At that moment, Brooke's voice came from the bedroom on the second floor. Nolan, who are you talking to? It's your mom, Nolan answered, throwing me an apologetic look. A moment later, Brooke appeared on the stairs. She was in her robe, her hair disheveled, her face pale. When she saw me, she froze halfway down the stairs. Mom, what are you doing here? I came to see you, dear. I answered, walking toward the stairs. I was worried. You look awful. What's wrong? Brooke came down and hugged me, but mechanically without the usual warmth. Nothing's wrong, Mom. I'm just tired. I didn't sleep well. Why? What's keeping you awake? Brooke and Nolan exchanged quick glances. Work. Brooke replied, lots of new projects, deadlines. But you're home in the middle of the day, I pointed out. And so is Nolan. If it's so busy, why are you both here? I felt sick this morning, Brooke said, avoiding my gaze. Nolan stayed behind to watch me. Bad? What do you mean? I scrutinized her face. You look really pale. Maybe you should see a doctor. No need. Brooken's word too quickly. It's just a little weak. It happens. Have you been feeling that weak a lot lately? I asked, starting to guess. Brooke looked at Nolan again. Sometimes, she admitted reluctantly. But it's no big deal. Really, Mom? Are you pregnant? I asked her bluntly. Brooke flinched, her cheeks turning slightly pink. No, I mean, why would you think that? You're pale, you're tired, you get sick in the morning, I listed. Classic signs. It's not. Brooke started, but Nolan interrupted her with a hand on her shoulder. Let's all calm down and have some tea, he suggested, smiling strangely. Vivian, I really appreciate your concern, but Brooke needs her rest, and she doesn't need any unnecessary excitement. Any unnecessary excitement. I interjected, I'm her mother. My worrying is unnecessary excitement. That's not what he meant, Mom, Brooke interjected. It's not a good time to have a serious conversation. I'm really tired. Okay, I gave in, but promise me you'll call me when you feel better. We need to talk. I promise. Brooke nodded, but I could see that she wasn't going to keep that promise. I left with a heavy heart. Something was definitely going on, and they were both hiding it from me. But what? A pregnancy, illness, marital problems. All the way home, I pondered it. If Brooke's pregnant, why are they hiding it? I mean, it's good news. Don't I deserve to know that I'm having a grandson or granddaughter? What if she's sick? The thought made me feel cold inside. What if Brooke has something serious and they don't want to worry me? At home, I couldn't find a place to go. I went over all of our recent conversations and encounters in my mind, trying to find a clue. Something waste-eluding me, something important. That evening, I decided to call Tess, Brooke's friend. Maybe she'd know more. Tess? This is Vivian, Brooke's mom, I said when she answered. Hello, Mrs. Cassidy. Tess's voice sounded surprised. Is something wrong? No, I hesitated, not knowing how best to ask. Tess, do you know what's going on with Brooke? She's been kind of weird lately. Weird? Tess asked. What do you mean? She's distant, secretive. She looks tired, Pale. I'm worried. Pause. Mrs. Cassidy, I think you should ask Brooke herself, Tess said carefully. I've tried. But she won't talk. You're her best friend, Tess. If you know something. Tess was clearly hesitant. Brooke. And I haven't had a heart-to-heart in a while. She cancelled our last meeting. Said she wasn't feeling well. How long has it been going on? I asked. A couple months, I guess, Tess replied. She's been calling less often, refusing to see me. I thought she was just busy with work. Do you think she and Nolan are happy? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. As far as I know, yes. Tess sounded increasingly uncertain. Mrs. Cassidy, I really don't know what's going on. Maybe they're just going through a rough patch. All couples go through that. I thanked Tess and hung up, feeling even more confused. Even Brooke's best friend didn't know what was going on, or didn't want to say. Over the next few days, I watched Brooke in Nolan's house, not getting any closer, just driving by at different times. Several times, I noticed Nolan driving off somewhere. In the evening, telling Brooke on the phone that he had urgent work stuff. One time I saw Brooke standing at the window, staring after her husband's car as it drove away, and there was something so helpless in her posture that it made my heart sink. I decided to call Nolan at work. The secretary informed me that Mr. Holt is working from home today. But when I drove by their house in the afternoon, Nolan's car wasn't there. Where does he go? What is he hiding from Brooke? And why has she been looking so strange lately? Friday night, I plucked up the Coragetto, called Brooke again. Mom. Her voice sounded tired. Did something happen? No, honey. I just wanted to see how you were feeling, I answered. You still didn't look so good when I stopped by the other day. I'm fine, Brooke said. It's just a lot of work. And Nolan, is he working a lot too? Pause. Yeah, he's got a big project going on right now. He stays late a lot at work. I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Yes, at work. Brooke's voice became tense. Where else? I don't know. I shrugged, though she couldn't see it. Just asking. Mum. Brooke sighed. Know you're worried, but believe me, it's okay. Nolan and I were fine. But something in her voice said otherwise, like she didn't quite believe what she was saying. Brooke, I'm taking a chance. But if he's doing something that upsets you can tell me. I'm on your side always. What are you talking about? There's a note of steel in her voice. Nolan doesn't do anything like that. He's a wonderful husband. Of course, darling, I agreed quickly. I just wanted you to know that no matter what happens, I'm here for you. Thank you, Mom. Brooke's voice softened. I appreciate it, but really, it's okay. We just need some time to, deal with some things. What, Brooke? I couldn't help but ask. It's between me and Nolan, she said firmly. When the time comes, we'll tell you everything. For now, please give us space. After that conversation, I felt even more confused and worried. Something was definitely going on between Brooke and Nolan. Something they didn't want to tell me about. Saturday morning, I drove by their house again and noticed that Nolan's car was in the driveway, and Brooke's car was gone. Where had she gone so early on her day off? I decided to call her cell phone. Her cell phone was off. That's weird. Brooke always kept her cell phone on. I dialed their home phone number. Nolan answered. Good morning, Vivian. His voice sounded strained. To what do I owe the honor? Good morning, Nolan, I said. I just wanted to talk to Brooke. Is she home? No, he answered after a short pause. She's out of town on business. What kind of business? I asked innocently. Saturday morning. Business? Nolan answered briefly. She had a meeting with a client. I see, I said. Though I didn't believe a word of it. Why aren't you at work? I thought you said you had an important project. I'm working from home today, Nolan answered. Vivian, I'm sorry, but I have another call. I'll tell Brooke you called. And hung up. Without waiting for me to answer, I stared at the phone, feeling my anxiety growing. Nolan was obviously. But why? What were they hiding? In the evening, I drove by their house again. Both cars were still there. So Brooke's back and they're both home. I decided to call again. This time, Brooke answered the phone. Mum, her voice sounded weird. Is something wrong? No, honey. I just wanted to see how you were doing, I answered. Nolan said you were in a meeting with a client. Yes, Brooke answered after a short pause. A new project, big order. That's good, I said. You sound weird. Is everything okay? I'm fine, Mom. Brooke answered too quickly. Just tired after the meeting. I see. I paused. Brooke, do you know you can tell me anything? I know, Mom. Her voice softened. But really, it's okay, Nolan. And I just need time. For what, Brooke? I couldn't help but ask. For our business, she answered evasively. Look, I have to go. I'll talk to you later, okay? And she hung up without waiting for my answer. I sat there with the phone in my hand, feeling my insides tighten with anxiety. Something was definitely going on between Brooke and Nolan. Something serious, and they were both hiding it from me. The next day, Sunday, I decided to stop by unannounced again just to make sure Brooke was okay. As I pulled up to their house, I noticed that Nolan's car was in the driveway, but Brooke's car wasn't. Had she gone somewhere else on her day off again? I rang the doorbell. No one answered for a long time. Then footsteps sounded and Nolan opened the door. He looked tired, but he had his usual polite smile on his face when he saw me. Vivian. What? A surprise, he said, letting me into the house. Brooke isn't home. She's gone out on business. Another work meeting? I asked skeptically. No. This time? Nolan stammered. She went to see Tess. They hadn't seen each other in a while. I nodded, pretending to believe him. But inside I was seething with resentment. I knew he was lying. Tess had told me herself that she and Brooke hadn't talked in a while. Nolan, I said as I walked into the living room. I know something's going on. You're both acting weird. Brooke looks exhausted. You're always going somewhere in the evenings saying. You have work stuff to do. What are you hiding? Nolan turned pale. I'm not. I stammered. Vivian, this is May and Brooke's business. Please respect our right to privacy. I do, I said. But when me daughter looks like she hasn't slept in a week, when she goes pale at the mention of the future, when her husband is clearly hiding something, I worry. It's okay. Brooke's fine, Nolan said firmly. She's just going through a rough patch work life. But we'll get through it. And your late night outings? I didn't back down. Is that part of the difficult period, too? Nolan tensed up. What do you mean? I've seen you leave in the evenings, I admitted. You tell Brooke you have work stuff to do. That you come back late. What's going on, Nolan? Were you following me? There was an icy edge to his voice. No, I stammered. It drove by a few times. And I saw you leave. Brooke looks miserable when you leave. What's going on? Nolan took a deep breath as if gathering his thoughts. Vivian, I understand your concern. But believe me, I love Brooke, and I would never do anything to hurt her. My absences are work-related, not an important project that I can't discuss. That's all I can say. I stared at him, trying to figure out if he was telling the truth. Nolan held my gaze, but something in his eyes, some tension, some anxiety made me doubt it. Nolan, I said more gently. If you and Brooke are having problems, you can always come to me for help. I won't judge. I just want you both to be happy. Thank you, Vivian. Nolan relaxed slightly. But really, we're fine. It's a rough patch, but we'll get through it. I nodded, deciding to back off for now. It was obvious that Nolan wasn't going to say anything, but my anxiety was only growing. As I walked away, I looked back at the house. What was going on behind those walls? What were Brooke and Nolan hiding? And why don't they want me Tokno? I couldn't sleep for a long time that night. My thoughts swirled around Brooke Nolan. There. Strange behavior. Something was definitely wrong, and I had to find out what it was. Another week passed, and my anxiety only grew. Brooke continued to avoid appointments, answering her phone calls shorter and more irritated. Nolan smiled, his trademark. Polite smile when we met, but his eyes remained weary. Something was definitely going on, and it was wearing me down. On Wednesday, I called Brooke at work, but the receptionist informed me that Ms. Hall is working from home today. Weird. Brooke usually preferred to work in the studio where she had all the samples and materials. I called her home, but no one answered. Her cell phone wasn't available either. Where had she disappeared to if she was supposedly working from home? By evening, the anxiety became unbearable. I decided to drive by their house just to make sure everything was okay. Maybe Brooke realized home, just hadn't heard the calls. As I pulled up to their street, I immediately noticed something unusual. There was an unfamiliar car in the driveway, a silver sedan, fairly new and expensive looking. Nolan's car was also there, but Brooke's car was nowhere to be seen. I slowed down, pondering. That could have come to Nolan's place in Brooke's absence. A co-worker, a friend, or someone else. Parking a little further down the street, I decided to wait a bit and see what was going on. Maybe it's just a business meeting. Although, it was odd that Nolan was having it at home and not at the office. 20 minutes passed, but no one came out of the house. The silver car continued to stand still. My anxiety grew. What if me daughter really is in trouble? What if Nolan was cheating on her? Determined, I got out of the car and headed toward their house. But instead of ringing the doorbell, I walked around the house and went to the large living room window. The curtains were drawn, but not completely. Through the small slit, I could see part of the room. Nolan was sitting on the couch. Next to him was a young woman I'd never seen before. Blonde, slim, elegantly dressed. They were talking animatedly about something, leafing through some book or magazine. I felt my heart beat faster. Who is this woman? Why was she in my daughter's house alone with Nolan? I tried to get closer to get a better look at the stranger and maybe hear their conversation. But at that moment my phone rang loudly, shrilly. I hastily backed away from the window and stepped farther away, pulling my phone out of my bag. It was Elaine calling. Vivian, where are you? We agreed to meet at the cafe an hour ago. Oh, Elaine, I'm sorry. I stammered. I didn't know what to say. I forgot. It slipped my mind. What's going on with you? Elaine sounded worried. You're getting more and more distracted. I know. I'm sorry. I'll be there soon. Iliad. I couldn't leave now without finding out who the woman in Nolan's house was. Don't. I'm leaving now. Elaine sighed. But next time please be more careful. I was worried. I apologized again and hung up. Then I went back to the window only to find that Nolan and the stranger had gone somewhere else. There was no one in the living room. Where had they gone? To another room. I walked around the house looking in the other windows. There was no one. In the kitchen either. The windows of the bedroom on the second floor were closed with curtains. The thought made me feel hot. Had Nolan really brought this woman into the bedroom he shared with my daughter? Was he really that shameless? I turned back to the living room window, pondering what to do next. Should I ring the doorbell? But what would I say? Sorry, Nolan. I happened to be passing by and thought I'd stop by while I was spying on you through the window. At that moment, I noticed there was a patio in the backyard with a sliding glass door leading to the living room. They often left it ajar in the summer for ventilation. Maybe I could overhear their conversation from there. Carefully trying not to make any noise, I walked around the house and up onto the patio. To my relief, the door was indeed slightly ajar. Apparently, the house was stuffy, and Nolan had decided to air it out. I froze, listening. At first, there was nothing but the ticking of the clock in the living room. Then, there were footsteps, and Nolan and Thestranger came back into the room. They were carrying cups of something hot, tea or coffee. It's important that you understand that at critical moments I can be very painful, the woman said, sitting down next to Nolan on the couch. A lot of people aren't prepared for that. I can handle it, Nolan answered, looking her straight in the eyes. I'd do anything for you. I felt the blood rush to my face. What kind of pain are they talking about? Good. The woman smiled softly. Then let's discuss the positions. Each has its advantages. Positions? I almost choked with indignation. I think that traditional one would be the most comfortable for you, Nolan said, looking at some illustrations in the book the woman was holding. But I'm open to experimentation. Good, she nodded. I find this honor particularly helpful in the most difficult moments. She turned the page. See, it takes the pressure off and makes the whole process easier. The process? I couldn't believe my ears. They were discussing some intimate stuff right in my daughter's house. What about the pain? Nolan asked, leaning closer to her. Is it normal? Absolutely, the woman replied. Confidently, especially if it's the first time. The key is to breathe properly and trust your partner. I'll show you some techniques. She stood up and began to demonstrate some breathing exercises. Inhaling deeply and exhaling slow. Nolan watched her carefully, his gaze sliding over her body. Try it, she suggested. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Imagine you're breathing out all the tension. Nolan repeated after her, and they were now standing very close together, breathing in sync. Good, she praised. Now for the massage. It's critical for relaxation, especially here. She put her hands on her lower back, and here her hands slid lower. I could feel the anger boiling up inside me. How could he? In his own home while Brooke is somewhere else, probably working late. He's discussing intimate techniques with some woman. Helen, you're incredible, Nolan said with genuine admiration. I don't know how I would have done it without you. Helen. Now she has a name. That's what I'm here for, she replied with a smile. To prepare you for the most important moment in your life. The big moment. What big moment? What are they talking about? When do you think it's best to tell me? Nolan asked, sitting down on the couch again. I want it to be a surprise, but I don't want it to be too long. It's usually safer after the first trimester. Helen answered, sitting down next to him. When the risks are lowered, first trimester risks. I froze, stunned by the sudden realization. This woman is pregnant. By Nolan. That's why they're discussing birthing positions, pain, breathing. I'm worried, Nolan admitted. It's such a responsibility. What if I do something wrong? You'll be fine, Helen said confidently. The main thing is to be close and supportive. At times like this, a woman is especially vulnerable, and you? Nolan asked. Will you be with me all the time? Of course, Helen nodded. I won't leave you. We'll get through this together. Together. They'll be together. And my daughter. What will happen to her when she finds out her husband is having another woman's baby? It could be a shock, Nolan said thoughtfully. Not everyone is ready for it. Yes, but it brings so much joy in the end, Helen said dreamily. A new life is always a miracle. I backed away from the door, my knees trembling. Nolan is cheating on my daughter. He's having a child with another woman. And they were discussing how to break the news to Brooke like it's some kind of pleasant surprise. I wanted to storm into the house and tell that traitor what I thought of him. But instead, I quietly walked down the patio and walked briskly to my car. I needed to find Brooke right away and tell her everything. As I got behind the wheel, I pulled out my cell phone and dialed my daughter's number. She answered after the 5th ring. Mum, is something wrong? Where are you? I asked, trying to speak calmly. Yeah, at Tess's, Brooke answered after a short pause. We haven't seen each other in a while, so we thought we'd get together. We need to talk, I said firmly. It's very important, Brooke. It's about Nolan. What about Nolan? There was concern in her voice. Not on the phone, I replied. I was just outside your house. I saw him with some woman, a blonde. I hesitated, not knowing how to say it. Brooke, that woman is pregnant with Nolan's baby. They were discussing how to tell you. They called it a surprise. There was a long pause. All I could hear was Brooke's breathing. Quick, labored. Mum, she finally said in a strange voice. I'll call you back later. And she hung up before I could say anything else. I stared at the phone, feeling everything inside me turn over with worry and anger. Why had she reacted so calmly? Did she already know her? Did she just not believe me? I dialed her number again, but the phone was already off. What should I do? Should I go to her? But I didn't even know where Tess lived, or if Brooke had actually been there. Go back and make a scene with Nolan and his pregnant mistress. But that would only complicate things for Brooke. I decided to go home. I'll call Brooke again tomorrow, and if she doesn't answer, I'll go to her workplace. There we can talk alone without Nolan and his Helen. The whole ride home, I was shaking with anger. How could Nolan do this to my daughter after 5 years of marriage? Have an affair on the side? And now a baby. I wondered how Brooke would react to this news. Would she cry, scream, or would she just pack up and leave like I would have done? One thing I knew for sure, I would be there for her no matter what she decided. I would help her get over her husband's betrayal and start a new life, because no one, not even the seemingly perfect Nolan, has the right to break my daughter's heart. I don't remember how I got home. There was only one thought pounding in my head. Nolan is cheating on Brooke and he's having a baby with another woman. My daughter needs to know the truth. Upon entering the house, I immediately rushed to the phone. Brooke still wasn't answering her cell phone, so I decided to call Tess. Luckily, I still had her number in my address book from last year, when she and Brooke had organized my anniversary. Hello, Tess answered after the 3rd ring. Tess, hi. It's Vivian, Brooke's mom. I tried to speak calmly, but my voice was trembling. Is Brooke there? No, Tess sounded surprised. Should I be? My heart skipped a beat. Brew lied to me. She's not at Tess's. She said you two were going out tonight, I explained. I must have gotten something mixed up. We haven't seen each other in weeks, Tess replied. She cancelled our last meeting, saying she wasn't feeling well. I see, I said, feeling my anxiety growing. Thanks, Tess. I'm sorry to bother you. I hung up the phone and hesitated. Where are Brooke if not at Tess's? She's definitely not at home. I just got there. At work? I don't think so. At this hour at some other friend's house. But then why would she lie? I decided to go to their house even if Brooke's not back yet. I have to talk to Nolan, tell him what I think about his behavior, and then wait for Brooke and tell her the truth. On the way out, I kept dialing my daughter's number, but the phone stayed off. That wasn't like her. Brooke always kept her cell phone on. As I pulled up to their house, I saw Brooke's car already parked in the driveway next to Nolan's car. That woman's silver sedan was nowhere to be seen, so she'd already left. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she wasn't Nolan's lover, just an acquaintance. And I'd misinterpreted their conversation. No, I definitely heard them discussing the pregnancy, the first trimester, the birth. It couldn't be a mere coincidence. I walked determinedly to the door and pressed the bell. No one opened for a long time. Then footsteps sounded and the door swung open. Brooke stood there pale and confused. Mom. Her voice sounded strained. What you doing here? We need to talk, I said firmly. Stepping into the house. It's about Nolan. What about Nolan? Brooke frowned, closing the door behind them. I took a deep breath, pulling myself together. How do I tell my daughter that her husband is a traitor? That he'd have a child with another woman? Brooke, I was at your house today, I began. I saw Nolan with some woman. A blonde. They were alone. And why were you at our house? Brooke interrupted. Emmy, are you following us? No, of course not. I objected. I was just worried. You've been so weird lately. Tired. And Nolan's always off somewhere in the evenings. He wanted to make sure you were okay. Is that why you were spying on my husband? Brooke's voice turned icy. I wasn't spying. I defended myself. I was just driving by and I saw someone else's car. And then I heard them talking. You did? Brooke stopped in the middle of the living room and turned to me. How exactly did you hear their conversation, Mom? I felt the color of shame flood my cheeks. How could I explain that I'd been eavesdropping under the windows of their house? The patio door was open, I mumbled. I just wanted to find out who the woman was. And what did you hear? Brooke crossed her arms over her chest. They were discussing pregnancy, I blurted out. Labor positions, breathing techniques. This woman is pregnant with Nolan's baby. They were talking about the first trimester, about how to let you know, calling it a surprise. Brooke looked at me wide-eyed. Her face pulled even more. She staggered and slumped down on the couch. Are you sure? She asked quietly. Are you sure you heard that woman is pregnant with Nolan's baby? They were discussing the birth, I exclaimed. She said it would be painful, that she needed to breathe properly. He promised to be there for her to support her. They talked about some positions, massages. Brooke covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook and I thought she was crying. I walked over and sat next to her, putting my arm around her shoulders. Honey, I'm so sorry, I whispered. I know how much it hurts, but you're strong. You'll get through this. I'm going to help you through this. Brooke didn't answer for a few minutes. When she finally looked up, her eyes were dry. But there was so much pain in them that my heart squeezed. Are you absolutely sure you know what you're saying? She asked quietly. Yes, I answered firmly. I heard them talking with my own ears. Brooke took a deep breath as if gathering her strength, and pulled her phone out of her pocket. I have to talk to Nolan, she said. Now, she dialed the number, and put it on speaker. After the third ring, Nolan answered. Brooke, is something wrong? Can you come home now? Brooke's voice sounded strained. I bring that woman you went out with today too. What woman? Nolan asked in surprise. That blonde woman you were at home with tonight, Brooke replied, her voice shaking. Mum says she saw you two together and heard you two talking. There was a heavy pause. Your mom?